This is From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Each week, Janice shares her wisdom to enlighten, educate, and advance the culture in America today. Janice Pons is a mother, author, and free thinker, and your host for our podcast this evening. Now let's join your host, Janice Pons.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. Come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Janice Pons. I am the host on our podcast, From Destruction to Dignity, Clinical Perspective, Spiritual Truths. Tonight, we're going to dive right in. We got a lot to talk about. 2026, there's a lot going on this year. And so we're going to dive right in because we're gaining a clearer understanding on our podcast regarding the dynamics of our nation. We know how it's structured, how it's supposed to work, how things have been so off track. We got our flag behind us that represents our amazing nation that I'm believing is getting more amazing. And this seal represents praying for our president and the cabinet thereof and their families, guys. They need us. We're going to always continue to pray for our citizens. You know, in 2024, I was always talking about the 265,900,000 working Americans who were living paycheck to paycheck, barely making ends meet. Well, 78% of them, that was the case. Now in, let's see, in 2025, it went down to 65%. I just checked recently. It's still around that same number, but I think things are subject to change. So we have a whole new flow going in our country in terms of leadership. I'm loving what Marco Rubio is doing, what President Trump is doing, what his cabinet is doing. What's happening with our military. There's a lot going on. There was no accountability whatsoever at one point in our nation. Things have changed. There's a lot at stake still. So we're going to dissect some things and continue on this path. So tonight we're going to examine something that has generated a lot of discussion in our nation, and it's going to be about stirring the pot. This is going to heat up. The stirring of the pot is going to heat up in 2026. Why? It's an election year. And this connects with our clinical perspective, which has to do with obnoxious behavior. You all ever seen obnoxious behavior? Hopefully we never engage in it personally ourselves. But if we don't understand and grasp and dissect the dynamics that are trying to take this country out, we will be sitting somewhere in a corner and crying and wondering why no one ever stood up and dealt with the stirring of the pot. When they stir the pot, often it offers no solutions whatsoever. And at this point where we're going in the nation, somebody's got to pay attention to all these dynamics that are going on. And one person that is noted to be a pot stirrer in terms of it even connecting to obnoxious behavior is Jasmine Crockett. She seems to have been designated, excuse me, as a spokesman with the Democratic Party. And she's a Democratic congresswoman from Texas, and she is running for senator out of Texas. When discussions were circulating regarding the dangerous rhetoric that has been going on in the nation and the encouragement of violence from citizens, it was being spewed out mainly from the Democratic Party of that this is an option. It's an option to go in and disrupt a church service. It's an option to show violence and encourage violence, and I've even seen the encouragement of things beyond violence towards our president. I mean, they tried to take him out 2 times that we know of. And so Jasmine Crockett dared anyone to find examples of Democrats championing violence. Well, the GOP didn't have any problem whatsoever delivering to her and to the nation upon that request that Ms. Crockett made. So we're talking about stirring the pot, and clinically, we're going to connect this with obnoxious behavior. Excuse me. Remember, we're going somewhere, and it's expecting us when we get there. Now, Jasmine Crockett's own remarks made the compilation of violent Democratic rhetoric real easy. So, days after Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk's assassination, Jasmine Crockett did her apparent best on the Breakfast Club radio show to downplay the link between Democrats' incendiary rhetoric and political violence. Now, this is what she said. Me disagreeing with you, me calling you a wannabe Hitler, all those things are not necessarily saying go out and hurt somebody. Those were her words. Now, she claimed, I literally have never said anything to invoke violence. I challenge somebody to go and find a clip of a Democrat invoking violence. That's what she said. We're talking about stirring the pot. We're talking about obnoxious behavior. Not only are we gonna punch back, this is what ended up coming out. This is what's found. This was the quote. Not only are we going to punch back, but we're about to beat you down. Now, does that sound like the inciting of violence? Listen, the Republican Party took her up on her challenge, and they provided her with a compilation of various instances where Democrats made remarks that could be construed as calls for or rationalizations of political violence. Guys, we can disagree, and we can agree to be disagreeable. My motto on social media is this. It is what would happen if we talk to and with each other versus at each other. And we got a lot of talking at each other. And yes, there are violent cries that are being, and actions that have been encouraged. So there was a video that was put together, and it was released in the wake of Crockett's announcement that she's running for U.S. Senate seat. And she just spews out, y'all know how she acts, okay? So this video included 20 provocative statements from Democrats, including former Biden Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo's September 24th remark to liberal talking head Micah Brzezinski. I think the name Brzezinski. I hope I'm not chopping that name up. But this is what was said. Let's extinguish him for good, referring to President Donald Trump. Brzezinski pressed Raimondo for clarification, asking, and extinguish, you mean vote him out? To which Raimondo said, well, yes, absolutely, vote him out. Banish him from American politics. California Representative Maxine Waters' suggestion to a mob in June of 2018. This is what she said. She said, let's make sure we show up wherever we have them to show up. She was talking about Republicans and people working for Trump. And she said, and if you, this was during his first term. She said this in 2018. She said, and if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, or at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd and you push back on them and tell them that they're not welcome anymore, anywhere. So in other words, let's go back to Jim Crow. You can't shop, you can't eat, you can't go into a business because you're a Republican working for Donald Trump. Maxine Waters. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries from New York, suggestion to fellow travelers in January. This is what he said when it comes to the Trump agenda. He said, we're going to fight it legislatively, we're going to fight it in the courts, and we're going to fight it in the streets. Fight in the streets. What does that look like? Well, they've already shown us what it looked like. Well, look what Black Lives Matter did in 2020. There were 42 of our fellow Americans that lost their lives. And I know, I was following that, I know of 2 cases where someone was held accountable. That little girl that was, her life was ended, 8-year-old little girl in Atlanta at that Wendy's. And then that retired police captain, David Dorn, I think that was his name, Captain Dorn. Yeah, I don't know if anybody else has been held accountable, that there's been any accountability connected with someone who lost their lives, and there were 42. California Representative Eric Swalwell's suggestion to CNN in this past August, he said that when they go low, we're going to bury them below the Capitol. Bury them below the Capitol? Oh, thanks for letting us know. U.S. Senate candidate Abdul El Sayed's assertion this past August that when it comes to Trump and his ghouls, he said, that this is what was said: when they go low, we don't go high. We take them to the mud and choke them out. The August 2020 suggestion by Massachusetts Representative Ayanna Pressley, a member of the squad, she's one of the 58 Democrats who voted against a resolution condemning Charlie Kirk's assassination. That's of significance. She said that there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives. California Governor Gavin Newsom's suggestion on a podcast this past August, he said, we're fighting fire with fire, and we're going to punch these sons of B-I-T, that word. We're going to punch these sons of fill in the blank in the mouth. That's the governor of California. Newsom was referring to Republicans whom he suggested moments earlier were radicals working to rig the 2026 midterm elections. Said this is the kind of rhetoric, this is the type of talk that Democrats do. California Representative Derek Tran's suggestion in August, he said, it's time for us as a party to get together and fight back, punch back, make sure that they stay down. He said, and you know what? Kick them when they're down, because they deserve it. Guys, we don't talk like that as Americans. We should not talk like that as Americans. Self-defense is one thing. When someone's life is threatened is one thing. But to say leadership, saying that this is what we do, we go out and create these types of things, it's not acceptable. Listen, the Republican compilation also included some of Crockett's own best hits. One of the excerpts in the compilation was taken from an interview that she did with TV's Phil Prazen, where she said that in order to win an election in Texas, she said, you punch. I think you punch. I think you're okay with punching? You all know how she talks. Ratchet, street talk, cutthroat, punching. In the same interview, Jasmine Crockett referenced former Representative Colin Ulrich's electoral defeat by Senator Ted Cruz, Republican out of Texas, and suggested that the Democrats should have been more combative with his Republican opponents, saying, I mean, like, this dude, Cruz, has to be knocked over the head, like, hard, right? Like, there is no niceties with him, like, at all. Like, you go clean off on him. That's Jasmine Crockett. She was saying fine statements. She was obliged. Crockett, who has rooted for foreign nations engaged in trade disputes with the United States, told radicals that Elon Musk must be taken down amid firebombs, characterized Republican voters as stupid, issued racist remarks, mocked the handicap, and dubbed, she was mocking Texas Governor Abbott, and dubbed the commander-in-chief an enemy to the United States. It's just another instance, guys, of violent rhetoric featured in this compilation that the GOP put together. She told them to do it, and they complied with her request. There was an excerpt that was taken from a press conference that showed Crockett, and she was saying, I'm here to tell you, not only are we going to punch back, but we're going to beat you down. Reportedly, the National Republican Senatorial Committee has actively worked behind the scenes to encourage Jasmine Crockett to jump into the Senate Democratic primary in Texas, believing she will be the easiest opponent to beat. If she keeps talking like this, her attitude is nasty. Guys, that's a good-looking woman. But boy, her presentation is so unbecoming of a lady. Yeah, it is. You know, it's okay to, sometimes we get riled up in our conversations, but guys, never, never as Americans and as a lady encouraging violence, it's just not acceptable. It's not acceptable. We don't have to do that. But Jasmine Crockett, she represents a good portion of that race as a 21st century black woman in America. They talk like that. It's not all of them, but by and large, there is this edge, there is this encouragement towards violent fighting. But it's all, listen guys, this is not new. The entitled attitude, the race division, usually the usual rhetoric, the constant victim mentality over either her being black, this is how the presentations are made, or her being a female, this is how the presentations are being made. Michelle Obama does it, calling out white people about her hair, cause it's black hair. It just goes on and on and on with these so-called Democrat women. And if they happen to be women of color, they come across with this cutthroat presentation that encourages violent rhetoric. These are the cards that are in the deck. Guys, it's a culture. It's a culture. I wish it wasn't this way, but it is. She's not the only black female that conducts themselves in the same manner, guys. It just is. I'm thinking out loud here. We see it. What are we going to do? Be in denial? DENIAL. Don't even notice I'm lying if we say it's not going on. She's just the loudest and has a bigger platform from which to spew this stuff out from. Maxine Waters, Joy Reid, Sonny Hostin, Stacey Abrams, Anaya Presley, Don Lemon. Guys, these are people of color. And look at the consistent presentations. All these dynamics, it leads us to our clinical perspectives. Obnoxious behavior. When we see loud and obnoxious behavior, we must remember that there is a goal. There's a goal. The goal or underlying motivation for loud and obnoxious behavior often relates to a desire for attention, to compensate for insecurities, or to project a sense of power that is rarely an effective communication strategy and often has negative social and professional consequences. What are the underlying motivations related to it all, this obnoxious behavior? People may be loud and obnoxious for various psychological and social reasons. Let's look at that. Seeking attention. A primary motivator is the desire to be noticed or the center of attention, especially if they feel unheard or ignored in other aspects of their life. Another reason for this type of behavior is insecurity or lack of confidence. Yelling or dominating conversations can be an overcompensation for internal insecurities or lack of confidence, a way to make their point seem more important or valid. Another reason is projecting power or status. Sometimes individuals use strong, loud voices to command attention and give the impression that they are in charge. In social psychology, loudness can be linked to perceived power. Some simply have a lack of self-awareness. Some individuals may not realize how loud or obnoxious they are. Jasmine Crockett has a presentation that is obnoxious, loud, cutthroat body language. It is it's horrendous. How loud? I wonder if she's aware, but I think it's a part of her packaging. And I remember 2 years ago, they were saying that black women was the leadership and the backbone of the Democratic Party. And so do you wonder why the approval rating was at 27% in 2025, and it was taken again in January of this year, and it was only 17% approval. That's 73% of people in a well-accepted poll. 73% said they approve of Democratic leadership, guys. This kind of stuff affects people. People are walking away. There's a walk away campaign on Facebook, Brandon Straka. It grows and grows and grows. And people come over there and talk about how they are absolutely abused because they just don't align themselves with what they used to as being a part of the Democratic Party. Obnoxious, loud, violent behavior, they encourage this. So some individuals, they may not know, but some of them, they do know. Some may not know how loud or obnoxious they are, possibly due to being raised noisy or simply being socially inept and not recognize the impact their behavior has on others. Then there's something called emotional expression. Intense emotions like excitement. I get excited easily, but I love life. And anybody that really knows me personally, they know I get excited. And we just have a good time together, but I don't get angry. I'm not angry. I'm not a mean person, but we see this mean behavior, mean girls, mean behavior. But sometimes excitement, anger, or passion can naturally lead to a raised voice. It just does. To be memorable or even negativity for some, the goal is simply to be remembered. And they don't care if the attention they receive is positive or negative. They just don't care. They want attention. What about consequences? Let's talk about that. While individuals may have a goal in mind, the behavior itself is often counterproductive. It just is. The consequences are, it's just counterproductive. It tends to alienate people rather than to persuade them. It can cause others to shut down, which is not motivating in a professional setting. It damages relationships and mutual respect over time. People don't want to be around you. It's the truth. Ultimately, effective communication and healthy relationships usually rely on more assertive rather than aggressive or obnoxious communication styles. And we know assertive is when you express your personal rights and feelings, but you don't hurt anyone verbally and or physically. And so assertive communication is I feel and I prefer. You know, wait a minute, I feel a little uncomfortable when you're raising your voice like that. And so what I prefer is that if you could just bring it down a notch, I think I can handle it. I know we get excited, but I just feel a little overwhelmed, and I just prefer that we just bring it down a notch. We can talk face to face, but see, when you're obnoxious and verbally aggressive, you're gonna, well, you this and y'all that, and I'll kick you and I'll tear this thing up. I mean, that's just how it is. That's what we're dealing with. It's not healthy. It doesn't foster healthy relationships. The communication style is just off the charts. But we can develop self-confidence and respect for others and honoring their feelings and their boundaries, and beautiful things can come out of this if people were that way and they strive to get better. So talking about getting better, what's the remedy? What's the remedy for being loud and obnoxious? It involves a combination of self-awareness, developing better communication skills, and addressing potential underlying issues. For the person displaying the behavior, if you're a person who feels they might be loud or obnoxious, now here's some steps to consider. Now, this isn't therapy. This is for educational purposes only. And I have that little runner going around across the bottom that this is for educational purposes only. This is not therapy. If you want a therapist, if you need a therapist, you can go to the resource page on my website, janicepons.com, and I've already mapped it out how you can get a therapist a professional to help you where you live. And it is a powerful process, and sometimes people are totally out of control. And guys, I'm gonna interject this, since we're talking about getting a therapist. Some people are displaying this type of behavior because they just may be dealing with personality traits or a full-blown personality disorder. True story. But that has to be determined through an evaluation by a professional. But there is help, no matter what a person is dealing with. Now, and a recovery support system is awesome. People that hold you accountable. I have about 5 people. They know me, and they'll take me to task in a hot minute, and I tell them to. Oh, yeah, I do. So, getting back to remedy, here's a remedy to consider. Practice active listening. Make a conscious effort to listen to others without interrupting or thinking about what you're going to say next. Genuinely engage with words to foster better conversation and make others feel heard. So, I'm hearing you say. So, wait a minute. Am I hearing you say? That's reflective listening. Repeat what you heard. People feel heard. It fosters great relationships. Ask me how I know. Another consideration for remedying this type of obnoxious behavior, this is to pause before speaking. I call it the power of the pause. I pause. Give yourself a moment to think about what you want to say and how you want to say it. This can help you respond with intention rather than reacting impulsively. Another remedy to consider: control your volume. Practice speaking at different volume levels and ask a trusted friend for feedback on your voice's loudness. I ask for feedback all the time from those who are in my inner circle. I want feedback. I don't want to be running off. I know a minister, he said, there y'all go, running off half-cocked. Yeah, I love that man. But he'll say, he half-cocked. And when people are acting like this, they're half-cocked. They're running off at me. They are just off the charts. Breathing from your diaphragm rather than your chest or your throat can also help regulate your voice's volume. Be humble. What about being humble? What would happen if we're humble and compassionate? Avoiding bragging or acting as if you know everything. Show empathy for others and try to see things from their perspective. That's a powerful tool. What would happen if a person monitors their body language, being aware of their nonverbal cues? Smiling more and maintaining an open body posture can appear that you're more approachable and less closed off. What would happen if someone seeks feedback, actually asking friends or family members for honest input on their behavior and work to improve in areas to find it, that you find important and that they have voiced as important? What would happen if someone lets others know that they're trying to improve in these areas? I do that all the time. I want to be held accountable. Those that are in my circle, And I don't need any more fingers than I have on one hand of people that, they hold me to task and I tell them to. If you hear me get off track, talk to me. Call me out. I want feedback. What would happen if someone addresses underlying issues? Sometimes being loud and obnoxious can stem from anxiety, insecurity, or difficulty reading social cues. They just don't do it. They don't know how. If this is the case, consider seeking guidance from a mental health professional or a counselor to explore coping mechanisms. I already told you how you can pursue that. For those dealing with loud and obnoxious people, if you're dealing with someone who's loud or obnoxious, guys, how are you going to manage it? You may think right now, you may say, oh God, I got about 3 people already that I know are that way, and I just about can't take it anymore. Well, I always say, what you going to do about that? That's how God told me. He said, Janice, what you going to do about that when these presentations come at me, all kinds of things? It's like, what are you going to do about that? Listen, here's a thought. I'm just thinking out loud. Using coping strategies, such as employing tools like noise canceling, noise canceling headphones, because you're busy. You're listening to something else. Or white noise machines can create a calmer, personal environment. Just thinking out loud here. What about setting boundaries? Politely speak with the person about their behavior and how it affects you. When you are loud and displaying aggressive language, I feel uncomfortable or overwhelmed. This is setting clear boundaries and what is acceptable, what you need them to do. Then there's ignoring the behavior. Sometimes obnoxious behavior is a bid for attention. By ignoring the unwanted comments or actions, the behavior may just diminish on its own. You just don't even acknowledge it, take there. You just keep right on working. Guys, I've done this. It's very effective. You just got to really be led. You got to be led. You got to be led. Follow peace. Let peace be your umpire. What about removing yourself? We're thinking out loud here, talking about obnoxious behavior. If possible, move to a quieter place or excuse yourself from a situation to protect your peace of mind. Seeking support? If the issue is persistent and affecting your well-being in a workplace or shared living situation, consider speaking with a supervisor, a landlord, or a mental health professional. Guys, it's just getting help to find strategies, skills, and tools for dealing with the behavior. What have we looked at tonight? Stirring the pot. And our clinical perspective has been dealing with obnoxious behavior. Guys, we've been all over the place in the nation. And it's easy to get caught up in emotions if we are not aware of important things that we need to know. In examining the dynamics involved with those who are stirring the pot, we are charged to awaken people from their asleep regarding simply being aware. Guys, being aware and being cognizant of setting boundaries. Guys, it's okay to do it. There's a lot going on in our nation, and guys, we can just do better. And all I do is come on here is provoke thought, bring awareness, and encourage us towards, what do I need to say or do in this situation that can help improve it and to help our country. Listen, we're going to keep coming back because this podcast, From Destruction to Dignity, my whole thrust is to provoke thought, bring awareness, and us look at how we can just improve, we the people, how we can consider different ways of thinking to just help America be better. Listen, guys, thank you for your support. Thank you. Gosh, the podcast is just being downloaded all over the world. I'm going to bring the countries. I got the analysis from Buzzsprout. 12 different countries. It's just expanded. I was just kind of blown away. Russia, Africa, Australia. I'm going to bring that list. I'll start saying it and I'll leave one out. But I want to thank you all, those that are listening, that if you're not in the United States, the United States is number 1, and the number 1 city was Dallas, Texas. Yay, Texas. I love Texas. I love Dallas. I love Texas. Y'all do things big. So, guys, keep coming back. We're going to keep going forward. I love love you guys. I appreciate you. And remember, we're going somewhere in 2026, and it's expecting us when we get there. I will see you next week. Good night.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Janice's mission is to provoke thought, bring awareness, and point people towards intervention when needed. As a reminder, this show is not therapy, but for educational purposes only. For more information, check out JanicePons.com or follow her on social media.
We are one power, strength is ours, liberty, been set free, education, affirmation, dedication, information, revelation.